The Arcturian Group, April 27, 2014. Channeled by Marilyn Raffaele, at www.onenessofall.com. We are the Arcturian Group and we are here to assist those of Earth in their ascension into the higher frequencies of love and light, frequencies that many do not yet even know exist. Many still live lives enmeshed in unawareness, hypnotized by the pictures presented within third-dimensional vibration because a veil of forgetfulness is in place on Earth. Mankind is struggling to remember who they are, while in the density of believing they are separate and apart from each other as well as their God, or if even there is such a thing as God. Fear not, dear ones, for you are always loved and protected even when it may seem that you are not. Even a child must be allowed to fall and skin his knee at times. Your divinity is your protection, as you can never be separate from who and what you are regardless of how many millions of years it may take. No person, experience, or belief can ever separate you from what you are. This realization is your protection and support in all things and will deflate every balloon of nothingness you may face. Always remember that the physically and emotionally painful experiences you encounter are life lessons set up by you with the help of your spiritual guides and teachers before entering into this particular incarnation. As an individual evolves, the harsher life experiences begin to lessen, for he is now manifesting from a higher state of consciousness and can learn in easier ways. Always know that intense, painful clearings many of you are experiencing right now are positive things, graduations, signs that the soul is now evolved enough to recognize and clear energies long kept deeply buried. Now is about letting go of the past and learning to love and honor all facets of self, in the journey to knowing self. There are those that read metaphysical books, go to classes, and spend a great deal of time talking about metaphysics and mystical truth but then continue to live their lives as they always have. Truth must be lived. It must be practiced with every experience of daily living, no matter how mundane, until it becomes your state of consciousness, at which time living it becomes automatic and will be who you are. Truth is not just an interesting theory to be discussed, compared and then dismissed. The time for discussion is over. Truth cannot be discussed in general groups because every individual is living out from their attained state of consciousness, and groups will always have those without ears to hear, who simply want to argue. Truth is never to be argued or imposed on another. This does not mean that you should not share with those on your level of awareness, but in general the spiritual journey is a silent, secret, and very sacred one, a living, moving, and having one's being in oneness. Change comes in the outer world as mankind's inner world evolves. An example of this can be seen in changes now taking place with regard to animal cruelty and other issues heretofore considered unimportant. What you observe is what the consciousness of mankind globally and individually creates. There are no victims. War, cruelty, dishonesty, power struggles, etc., are the manifestations of separation duality consciousness. Us versus them also are necessary in light of the fact that all is one, and that one does not embody ideas of discord. The war lesson is one that many are painfully learning right now. Mankind is ready to create a new world by pulling back from and releasing all that is old and finished, fearlessly embracing new and higher concepts of oneness. We wish to speak of the healing energy of love. Love is the activity interconnectedness energy of the one manifesting itself as the many. As this truth becomes your attained state of consciousness, it automatically aligns you with the higher frequencies, displacing the dense and heavy false vibrations of duality and separation which have no law to hold them in place. Since complete and harmonious divine consciousness is the true essence of every individual, the more aligned with truth you become, the more the outer will begin to reflect it, physically, emotionally, and mentally. This is the work, this is the journey. Truth begins simply as mental knowledge but must be practiced and lived until it becomes your state of consciousness, at which time it then begins to appear outwardly as what is needed: health, ideas, companionship, home, etc. Meditation is the best healing and beauty treatment you can give yourselves, because in meditation you are resting in the higher resonating and harmonious frequencies of oneness. Most of mankind is ready to stop seeking outwardly in the realization that the substance of everything lies within. Understand that these words are not simply a nice quote from some mystical poet. Learn to never again seek your good in the outer, for all that you will ever need is forever and permanently already embodied within the consciousness that you are. When you understand this but then continue to seek your good from the world, you create a spiritual gap between your sense of self and your real self. Once an individual attains the realization of oneness, the outer experiences will begin to reflect joy, health, happiness, and fulfillment, which the world will see as healing. Outer change can only manifest after the state of consciousness is attained, because the substance of all things is consciousness, not someone else's consciousness, yours. A healer working on a high level of awareness may temporarily lift a person's energy, but unless the individual himself keeps it there, his issues will return, recreated by his own state of consciousness. You say, what does this mean? How can everything I need be within, car, house, job? Divine consciousness, which is what you are, embodies every spiritual idea. These spiritual ideas in turn manifest outwardly in the forms you can understand and appreciate. A car is the material sense of omnipresence. A home is the material sense of consciousness. I live and move and have my being always in consciousness. The person who loves the solitary life will not suddenly manifest a partner, because that would not represent completeness for him. Music, art, medicine, science, ideas and inventions of every form and variety can and will flow from the infinite source within if the door is opened. Divine consciousness, your consciousness, is self-sustained and self-maintained and is ever complete and manifesting itself. How you see these manifestations is determined by your awake or unawake state of consciousness. Begin to claim your birthright, recognize and manifest it. Your good is not going to fall down from the heavens the minute you go to church, say the right prayer words, or do a good deed. It can only manifest higher and better forms as you realize you already are it. This is the lesson, and the time is now. We are the Arcturian group.